Marcus Antonius Gordianus Sempronianus, who are now often referred to as Gordian I and Gordian II, were proclaimed emperors of Rome in the province of Africa during the reign of Maximinus. Their short stint on the throne lasted a mere 22 days, but it was ratified by the Senate in Rome. Early life. Marcus Antonius Gordianus Sempronianus, who I will refer to as Gordian I from now on, was born circa 158. His family probably originated from central Anatolia, and some historians believe his ancestors were granted Roman citizenship during Marcus Antonius's time, hence his praenomen and nomen mirroring that of the famous general and statesman of the late Republic. The Historia Augusta claims that he was related to Emperor Trajan, but that has largely been dismissed as a fabrication. But it also appears that he was related to, on his mother's side, Herodes Atticus, the famous Athenian who was friends with Marcus Aurelius and Antoninus Pius. Gordian I entered public life relatively late in life, but it seems he advanced steadily in the Roman imperial hierarchy. Our main source for his early life is the Historia Augusta, which should always be taken with a grain of salt, records that he served his quaestorship most splendidly. When he was aedile, he gave the Roman people 12 exhibitions, that is one for each month, at his own expense. At times, indeed, he provided 500 pairs of gladiators, and never less than 150. The Historia Augusta goes on and claims that he was consul with Caracalla, which seems dubious because his name does not appear in the consular rolls of any year, and Caracalla would not have been consul unless he was consul ordinarius, a rank Gordian never achieved before becoming emperor. He must have been suffect consul, sometime before he won the proconsular governorship of Africa. Gordian was about 80 years old at the time of his posting in Africa in 237. In 235, Emperor Alexander Severus and his mother Julia Mamaea were assassinated by mutinous troops at Mogontiacum, and the energetic commander Maximinus was proclaimed emperor of Rome. Africa. Gordian had a son, whom he named after himself, who was born circa 192. Gordian II was, it was said, a very fat man who got along very well with his father. He was of consular rank when his father governed Africa, and joined his father in his new posting as a legate. One of Maximinus's most despised decisions was to introduce new taxes to meet the increasing need for money in the imperial army. The army had increased in size, and the soldiers' pay had increased in recent years. Meanwhile, the taxes had largely stayed the same. Herodian describes what happened. The procurator of Africa, who acted the tyrant with everyone, involved in lawsuits some young men of the wealthiest and most aristocratic local families, and undertook to extort money from them and rob them of their inheritances. Angered by this, the youths promised to pay him the money, but requested a delay of a few days. Calling a meeting, they won the support of all who were known to have suffered an injury or feared that they might suffer one. They ordered the field labourers to come into the city at night, armed with clubs and axes. Carrying daggers under their robes, the youths approached the procurator as if to discuss the payment of the money. Then, attacking him suddenly, they stabbed and killed him. When his bodyguard drew their swords in retaliation, the workmen from the fields pulled out their clubs and axes and, fighting for their masters, easily routed their opponents. The success of their plan immediately put the youths in a desperate situation. They realized that a single avenue of safety lay open to them. To add to their bold acts, deeds even bolder, and enlisting the governor of the province as a partner in their peril, to rouse the whole province to revolt. They knew that the governor, who hated Maximinus, had long prayed for this, but was afraid to act. As it was now noon, the entire group went to the house of the proconsul. The revolters went to Gordian's estate, who seems to have been in Thysdrus at the time, the same place where the procurator had been slain. They more or less forced him to accept their demands of taking up the purple. Gordian wrote that when they burst into his house and overpowered his guards, they draped him in a purple cloak and greeted him with the imperial honours. Astounded by this unexpected turn of events, and thinking it was an act of treachery or part of a plot against him, Gordian threw himself to the floor, begging them to spare the life of an old man who had never harmed them, and to continue to display their loyalty and goodwill toward the emperor. But the youths were insistent and drew their swords. Gordian, alarmed and unaware of what had occurred, did not understand the situation. One of the youths, a talented speaker of distinguished family, asked for quiet and ordered the rest to remain silent. Then, sword in hand, he addressed Gordian as follows. With two dangers threatening you, the one present, the other future, the one already obvious, the other a remote possibility. You must make your choice whether to enjoy safety with us and have faith in greater things to come, in which indeed we have all placed our trust, or to die at our hands this very moment. If you elect to accept the present situation, there are many factors which augur well for the future. Maximinus's hatred of everyone, the people's longing for deliverance from a cruel tyrant, their approval of your conduct in your former offices, and the fact that among the Senate and the Roman people you enjoy a distinguished reputation and are held in high esteem. But death awaits you this very day if you decide against us and refuse to join us, and we shall die ourselves if need be after we have killed you. We have done a deed which calls for even more desperate measures. The tyrant's procurator is dead, having paid the penalty for his savagery, death at our hands. If you join us and share our peril, you will enjoy the honour of being emperor, and the deed which we have done will be praised, not punished. After the young man had finished speaking, the rest of the band cast aside all restraint. The entire populace of the city quickly assembled when the news was known, and the youths proclaimed Gordian Augustus. After this, with kingly pomp and laurelled faces, Gordian and his entourage marched into Carthage, and there his son, with the same name, who was his father's legate at the time, was invested with equal power. Gordian's first act as emperor was to write to the leading men in Rome to gain support. He understood that he would not get any open support until he had disposed of Vitellianus, the praetorian prefect in the capital, who was a Maximinus supporter. He did so by sending a very few loyal men to the capital, pretending they came from Maximinus and wished to speak to Vitellianus privately and deliver their report. While Vitellianus was examining the seals on the dispatches, they attacked him with the swords they had concealed beneath their robes. With the death of Vitellianus, the people of Rome assumed that Maximinus also had met his end. Therefore, the statues, paintings, and all of Maximinus's emblems of honour were destroyed. Gordian explains, the hatred which fear had hitherto suppressed now poured forth without hindrance, freely and fearlessly. The senators met before they received accurate information concerning Maximinus, and, placing their trust for the future in the present situation, proclaimed Gordian Augustus, together with his son, and destroyed Maximinus's emblems of honour. Downfall. While they managed to get the support of the Senate, the Gordians failed to realize how little that mattered. Capellianus, governor of the neighboring province of Numidia, a loyal supporter of Maximinus Thrax, and held a grudge against Gordians, had invaded Africa with the only legion stationed in the region, Legio III Augusta. Gordian II was put at the head of a militia army of untrained soldiers, and, predictably, lost the Battle of Carthage and was killed. Hearing the news of his son's death, Gordian I took his own life on the 9th of April 238. The Gordians were emperors for only 22 days. Why didn't they sail to Rome when they must have realized the impossible odds of fighting a legion with little more than farmhands? Perhaps they considered it dishonourable. A nephew of Gordian II would later be elevated to the imperial throne, referred to as Gordian III. This was the end of the two Gordians. Both of them were named Augusti by the Senate, and afterwards placed among the gods. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It helps us out tremendously. The next video will be on Pupienus and Balbinus. We've already made a video on Maximinus Thrax. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Thanks again, and see you in the next video.